The Unshakables podcast is kicking off Season 2 with an episode you won't want to miss. Join host Ben Walter, CEO of Chase for Business, as he welcomes a very special guest, Chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. Hear about the challenges facing small businesses and some of the uh-oh moments Jamie has overcome. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. Member FDIC. Copyright 2025. JP Morgan Chase & Company.
My dad works in B2B marketing, but I never really knew what that meant. Then one day my dad came by my school for career day and told everyone in my class he was a big ROAS man. Then he just kept saying things like, the bigger the ROAS, the better, over and over. My friends still laugh at me to this day. I think it means calculating a return on ad spend. One thing's for sure, I'll be known as the ROAS man's kid for the rest of my days. Why couldn't you just be a fireman or a lawyer? Why? You ruined my life, Dad.
Not everyone gets B2B, but LinkedIn has the people who do. And with ads on LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people based on job title, industry, likelihood to buy, and more. Start converting your B2B audience into high-quality leads today. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/customer to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/customer. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This is what you do when you have high standards and fancy all the fancy things, like a Dior saddlebag or that diamond tennis bracelet. You go to eBay. There you'll find new loves that will never disappoint, expertly authenticated. Whether it's that vintage pearl necklace or brand new ruby earrings, a Prada crossbody bag, or classic watches like that Rolex Oyster or that Cartier tank. On eBay, there are no limits to your high standards. Yeah, eBay, the place for new, pre-loved vintage and rare fashion. eBay, things people love.
Sail to breathtaking destinations in Alaska or Europe with the Disney Cruise Line. Discover where onboard magic meets onshore adventures, where beloved characters
Hiya, pal!
meet alluring landscapes, where Broadway quality shows meet historic cities, where imaginative dining meets amazing wildlife, and where exciting experiences await the whole family. Book an adventure-filled summer Disney cruise to Alaska or Europe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Zoe, and you're listening to Climbing in Heels for your weekly dose of glamour, inspiration, and fun. Emmy award-winning television personality, chef, restaurateur, and 9 times New York Times bestselling author, Giada DeLaurentiis is on the pod today. I have watched her career from afar for so many years and absolutely love and have so much respect for the career she has built in this field. Her latest book, Super Italian, is all about cooking with nutrient-rich Italian superfoods to create the most beautiful and healthy meals in true Italian style. She is such a game changer in the industry, and I cannot wait for you to hear more about her unbelievably incredible story. So let's jump right into it.
I'm very excited to talk to you. I've obviously known your career and I've known of you forever, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited about what you do, A, but B, just excited about what you're doing now. And so I want to kind of dig into it because I think you have such a fan base, and I didn't realize you're born and raised in California, right?
No, actually born in Rome, Italy. I moved to the States.
That tracks. See, that tracks to me. The born and raised in California really threw me.
I moved to New York first. My family's in the movie business, has been for a very long time. And so my grandfather was a movie producer in Italy, and my grandmother was an actress. And together they created like this empire in Europe and in Italy. Then they moved over to the States because that's what,
Of course, that's the dream.
but that's the dream to make it in the U.S. So they came, and of course, my mother being his eldest daughter, they took all the kids and grandkids with them because you follow the patriarch in an Italian family, right?
Which I love.
So, yeah, so we moved to New York first for a couple of years, and then we moved to Los Angeles. And I did go to school in Los Angeles, but I was 7 when we immigrated into this country.
Got it.
Yeah. So a little bit American, but like via Italy. Yeah.
But film and entertainment.
Yes.
Okay. Also, just obviously coming from the heritage that you do, food is what, 95% of culture?
My grandfather's family had a pasta factory before World War II. My grandfather, being one of 8 kids, would go door to door and sell his mom and dad's pasta. So they would dry it on the roofs. So there were these apartment buildings outside of Naples in Torre Annunziata, which was like the perfect culmination of the way that the ocean air, the Mediterranean, hits the land, and they would leave all the pasta up there and it would dry, and they would sell dried pasta. And so my grandfather would do that. He was an awesome salesman, and that's what that that side of the family did for a long time, until then my grandfather went into the war, and he was stationed in Capri, and he defended Capri. It was
even the romance of like being
crazy.
stationed in Capri, like
Yeah, they lost everything, as a lot of these things do, because Naples was heavily bombed.
of course.
And then when the war was over, he basically just trekked his way to Rome. He really was so enamored. He really wanted to be an actor. So he was enamored with going to Rome to become an actor. But he found out soon enough that he was too short and not handsome enough to be an actor. In those days, actors would tall and, So he ended up marrying my grandmother, who was Miss Rome at the time, and together she would star in his movies, he would produce them, and my grandfather made over 600 movies in 60 years.
Was this Sophia Loren time?
Yes. My grandmother and Sophia Loren, exactly the same time. My grandfather made movies with Fellini. My grandmother started.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Strada, all these movies.
Wow.
And then he came here and started making movies in America. Conan the Barbarian, like all of these famous movies. I mean, he created Arnold Schwarzenegger pretty much.
Wow.
I mean, so he created a whole legacy here in the States. And I was 7 when we all moved.
Right.
But at the end of the day, food was sort of what held us together. My grandfather traveled a lot on movie sets. All of my family worked on movie sets. And so, we lived in Los Angeles, but on Sundays was our family gathering. And my grandfather would make pizza and pasta from what he learned from a kid. And when I was 11, he opened these gourmet shops, much like an Italy is today, called DDL Show, one in Trump Tower in New York and one here in Beverly Hills in the Flats. And I would go there as a kid and just be enamored, because it was something that, Americans hadn't seen before. These stalls, pasta stalls and pizza stalls and all sorts of ingredients imported from Italy. Now, you have to remember, this is like the late 70s, early 80s. So it's not
that did not exist.
It doesn't exist, especially not in Los Angeles where I live.
Right.
New York, it kind of did, a little bit more, but not Angelino's.
Right.
So I was always just fascinated. And he didn't just open these stores. He also brought all his buddies in that he grew up with, the pizzaiolos, the pasta makers. Like, these were all guys from Naples that he imported into Los Angeles. Blues, chatter, all this Italian talk. Like, I think what I loved was not only the aromas in the place, but watching people come in and just their jaws dropping and just being like, oh my, what is this place?
I mean,
I loved it. And, he kind of merged food and Hollywood together. He would do all his movie premieres in his restaurant, in this space. Like, it was just a magical time. But anyhow, for me, that was when I first realized, how do I do that? How do I make people have that expression or that sense of awe when they walk into a space? Yeah. And so, I grew up here. I went to school at UCLA, and then I left and went to Paris and went to cooking school for a couple of years. And then I moved back.
You went to the cooking school.
I went to Le Cordon Bleu in Paris. Yeah.
I mean, that's like the dream. It's like in fashion, it's like I went to Central St. Martin's in London. It's like that's where you went is like the dream. That's correct. Like, I'm going to be a Michelin chef, right?
That's what I thought I wanted to do. And honestly,
and your family supported that, obviously, because they didn't. They didn't.
They didn't. Listen, my family, God love them. Like, my grandfather was like, just get married and have a bunch of kids. What the hell are you doing? Like, why? This is a man's work. Yep. You're too small. You're too skinny. You're too little. Nobody wants you in the kitchen. You're a distraction. What are you doing with food? And there was no plan for me. I'm a woman. Like,
not mental, and you come from a complete food and entertainment family.
But this was 25 years ago, and tell me how many women were even in the food business at that point.
I mean, not.
I mean, it doesn't.
Not.
Well, so it wasn't crazy for him to think.
Martha.
That's it. But remember the shit Martha got. Oh, sorry.
Sure do. Oh, you can say anything.
Yeah. You remember that. Oh, she
Sure
got.
do.
You go to the top. Oh, yeah. We'll just pull you right back down where you belong, lady. And
Story of my life. Story of my whole adult life. So my whole life, but my whole career for sure.
And maybe somebody, and really there was probably a man that helped you get there, because you wouldn't possibly have the talent to do that on your own, right? Like,
True.
And so I think for them, my grandfather was just, all of them were just like, she's lost her mind. But just let her do her thing. It'll last a couple years, and then she'll be done, and she'll get married, and that'll all be done. And that did not happen. So,
Can I ask you a question? When you went to cooking school at Le Cordon Bleu, were you like one woman? Was it like Julia Childs, where she was like the only female?
there were other women, but there were a lot of Asian women, because it's part of their dowry when they get married. Korean, Japanese
Had to
women.
cook.
Yes, it's part of the culture. So they send these young girls to all of these different specialty schools so that they have all of these talents because they're more desirable. So I went to school with a lot of those kind of women.
Right.
Or older women who, had a new career path. There were a couple of older American women who had worked on yachts, and they were much older. They were probably in their 50s at that point. I was in my 20s, early 20s. So I think that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it was all men.
It was not 20-something women with a dream. Wow. Okay, so then what happens? So you graduate, and what happens?
I come back here. I had a
Okay.
boy at the time, becoming my husband and now my ex-husband.
Okay.
And I came back here and I worked for Wolfgang Puck,
Okay.
Spago.
By the way, great first job, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I worked also at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina del Rey for a French chef for a little while because I wanted to be able to continue to speak French and hone myself. And then I went to Wolfgang and I spent some time working for his pastry chef, Sherry Yard, there. But my parents were like, listen, you're barely making any money.
Right.
We're tired of supporting you. I mean, I'm making $5 an hour and I'm working and it's, restaurant kitchens are not glamorous. They're hellholes. They just aren't. You get,
Even the nicest ones.
yes. And you get a lot of, it's just,
Yep.
anyhow.
Yep.
So I did that for a while, and then I started becoming a private chef. So I started cooking privately for people like Ron Howard and his family because they spent a lot of time here shooting movies. So I would cook for their family, and then I'd had other families. I started a catering business for myself. I thought, okay, I'm going to make more money that way. And as I grew that, I got a call. I started doing on the side some food styling for some friends. Then 9/11 happened. And after 9/11, the food industry switched.
Mm-hmm.
And, especially in New York, people weren't going out to eat anymore.
Well, I remember. I lived there.
They wanted to dine at home and learn how to cook. It was the first time you see a shift in the American culture.
Yeah.
That people are really interested in cooking at home and interested in learning how to do that. And so Food Network started to grow based on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a call from one of the heads at Food Network just saying that so backing up, I was doing some food styling for some friends who lived in LA and for different magazines. I had met a lady who did she was the creative director of Food and Wine magazine.
Mm-hmm.
To be in this special chef's issue. My grandmother was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Oscars that year. So I got my family together. I cooked a meal. I wrote the recipes. I did all that stuff, recipes that I'd had from my clients because I write menus and cook for them and,
Sure.
and did all that. And he saw it in Food and Wine and he was like, can you put yourself on tape? I want to see if you have any personality at all because a lot of photos, as well, right to talk.
Of course.
Then so I did a little demo tape. My brother, who has now passed away, shot it for me. And at the time he was a cameraman and he did it for me. And I just did like a 3-minute reel making pastel de bechamel. And then they just said, okay, let's start this. Let's try to do this little Italian show for you. And we called it Everyday Italian. And
I remember it.
Yeah.
I was a Food Network junkie.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was like I used to have it on and sometimes mostly just not even watch. It was like calming for me in the background when I lived in New York. And then probably when I moved out here, but my life was so busy. I just, but it was always on. I always had it on. It was calming for me.
That's all. Well, so I mean, I started that and, it was a departure for them because a lot of their shows were shot in New York. And I was like, I can't New York. I need to be in LA with my family. Like, I can't leave. And we shot it in LA in a house, which was totally different than what they usually do, which is mostly
very studio.
Mostly people like Emerald.
Yep.
Mario Batali. Like, those were the chefs, right?
Oh, I remember well.
Right. And wore their little outfits and their chef.
And he had his clogs on and the whole thing.
Yes. And I was the opposite. I was more like Martha in like a shirt, a casual, and much like Rachel Ray and Ina Garten, we all started at the same time. And we had an audience that was mostly women.
Yeah.
Wanting to really learn how to cook at home. And it just kind of exploded, Rachel. I didn't ever plan it. I just thought, like catering on the side, because this doesn't pay shit.
Sure, of course.
My family was like, you're nuts. What is fucking cable anyway?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Nobody watches it.
Nobody watches that. That is raid our name. Nuts. And I thought, well, let me just try it. Let's just try. You guys don't have I have no plan for myself. There's no ambition for me. You guys have no. Yeah. So let me just.
I'm on my own here. So
I'll just try it. And that's it. So the first season was rough.
Yeah.
I was very shy. I was always a very shy person. So then, we tried a season 2 and it just grew and grew. And then honestly, I've been on a treadmill ever since. Books, restaurants, like it all just kind of came. And I just thought, I never planned any of it. I'm the opposite of Martha, who planned everything. I just kind of went on a roller coaster and I just kind of figured it out as I went along. And
I mean,
and you know what?
Sound familiar, Mary?
Hard work, but it's also like sometimes I do believe that the stars, you're in the right place at the right time. I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there, but don't always resonate on camera or don't engage people enough, or I don't know what it is.
I would agree with that. I would say, and I don't say this very often, but it's funny because as I listen to you, you sound like me when I'm in an interview, which is like, I'll just be like, I didn't plan anything. And I learned it as I went. I just wanted to be the best at what I was doing. And I took the different roads that seemed right in the moment, right? And, ultimately, I think for you, I guess in some ways the stars align, but the stars don't align if they're not right, if that makes sense. Like they align because it's working, right? There's no accident, in my opinion, because you can get there. And like you said, you did a first season. It was rough. In this day and age, they probably would have canceled you after 3 episodes.
Absolutely. 100%.
Right? It was a different time. And I think, and I always say, and I'm curious if you agree, because you was like, oh, Rachel, you were the first. People didn't even know what that was and what a stylist was and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand, being the first is hands down the hardest because there is no book and there's nothing to compare yourself to. And there's not, which in many ways I think is healthy because you're not looking at the others, right?
There's no roadmap.
So there is no roadmap.
You want to buy a home or car? Maybe you want to lease a new apartment, but your credit isn't where it needs to be. You need Kickoff. If your credit is under 600, you can jump like 28 points in your first month. Kickoff is the best way to build credit fast. No credit checks, no hidden fees, and no interest. It's simple. Kickoff optimizes key credit factors. Credit bureaus see good behavior, and your credit grows fast. Start building credit now for only $1 for your first month at getkickoff.com/iHeartPodcast. That's Kickoff without the C. Get KIKOFF.com/iHeartPodcast. Must sign up via getkickoff.com/iHeartPodcast to activate offer. Offer applies to new customers first month only. Subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions may apply. Point stat based on Equifax Vantage Score at 3.0. Changes for kickoff users starting under 600 who made their first on-time payment between January 2021 and March 2024. Payment and credit activity outside kickoff can have an impact on your credit. Individual results may vary.
This is what you do when you have high standards and fancy all the fancy things, like an iconic Dior saddle bag or that diamond tennis bracelet. You go to eBay. There you'll find new loves that will never disappoint, expertly authenticated and everything. Whether it's that vintage pearl necklace or brand new ruby earrings, a Prada crossbody bag to be besties with your other handbags, even an eternally classic watch like that Rolex Oyster or that Cartier Tank. You know the one. And when you find it, eBay has their experts' eyes to make sure you're getting the real deal. That way you can be confident that the designer finds you came for, the luxury wardrobe you've always wanted, it's all real. In fact, it's verified authentic. So bring your high standards and never limit what you can find. Yeah, eBay, the place for new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion. eBay, things people love.
My dad works in B2B marketing, but I never really knew what that meant. Then one day my dad came by my school for career day and told everyone in my class he was a big ROAS man. Then he just kept saying things like, the bigger the ROAS, the better, over and over. My friends still laugh at me to this day. I think it means calculating a return on ad spend. One thing's for sure. I'll be known as the ROAS man's kid for the rest of my days. Why couldn't you just be a fireman or a lawyer? Why? You ruined my life, Dad.
Not everyone gets B2B, but LinkedIn has the people who do. And with ads on LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people based on job title, industry, likelihood to buy, and more. Start converting your B2B audience into high-quality leads today. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/customer to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/customer. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Trust isn't just earned, it's demanded. Whether you're a startup founder navigating your first audit or a seasoned security professional scaling your GRC program, proving your commitment to security has never been more critical or more complex. That's where Vanta comes in. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs over 35 frameworks, like SOC 2 and ISO 27001. Centralize security workflows, complete questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Vanta can help you start or scale your security program by connecting you with auditors and experts to conduct your audit and set up your security program quickly. Plus, with automation and AI throughout the platform, Vanta gives you time back so you can focus on building your company. Join over 9,000 global companies like Atlassian, Quora, and Factory who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, our audience gets $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/special. That's VANTA.com/special for $1,000 off.
And you're like, am I going the right direction? I have no idea. You're blind.
Correct. You're blind.
It's really hard.
And that's why I say to you, like, I don't think it was luck, because I think there was a blindness to it. And I think with that blindness came which is a little bit how I went into it, like, what do I have to lose, right? And I think for you, it was sort of like you didn't have someone you were following, right? And you clearly were driven by the passion for what you were doing. And because there were so few women, I think that presents its own issues, because I think today we know there's multiple seats for women at any table, mostly. Even over the last 5 years, I would argue to say there's 10x more spots for women in any field, right?
Agree.
And even so much that men in some industries are trying to bring in women so that they can check a box, right?
Agree.
Now, doesn't mean you don't have to hold your own, but it just means there are more spaces. So I think in what you were doing, it's very intimidating, especially knowing that your very powerful Italian family was not really supporting what you were doing, right?
Exactly.
My guess is, my question is, I'm curious, like, at what point was there this inflection of, I probably should stop doing this and choose something else? Or was there not? Because once you started the show, it just kind of all went from there.
all the time. All the time. All the time.
Even still, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All the time.
Totally. All the time.
Yeah.
I'm always wondering if I'm, you know, I think too that because the journey is sort of blind, you don't know, like, should I take a right now or should I go left? Is it time to reinvent myself, or do I just stay on the same journey, continue on? Like, I don't know. And I think, you know, for me, when I did Food Network, I started when I wasn't married and I didn't have a child. Then I got married, right, on my show. And then I had a child. Watched me be pregnant on the show. They watched me have my daughter. They watched my daughter grow up. And so then I got divorced. And then I was like, well, should I just quit altogether? Because my career is dead. I just created a family on this show that now doesn't even friggin' exist. And I have to be honest about the fact that it doesn't exist. Like, all of these moments in my life where I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be seen anymore. I just want to, you want to disappear from it. There's a lot of insecurity, I think. There's a lot. Same. You never know if you're making the right choice. And yes.
And also your identity as a mother, like, those decisions become very different when you have your child, because I also had mine during my filming, and you start to be like, who am I? Can I still be that person? I'm projecting out there. And part of you just wants to go, can I just escape with my child or my children? So I just go dark. Can I go dark for a year? Pause. I want to raise my kids. Like, we don't have the luxury.
Is that an option for us? I don't know. I mean, like, those were all things. Like, can you come back? You're older. Like, it's all this stuff. Like, I'm in my 50s. So I'm like, oh my God, how long do you have? I mean, I know Martha's 80 something, but let's be honest. That's happened to a lot of women. That's just, she's a special bird. All the time.
She is.
And
she is. And has always been. And has been.
Absolutely.
And from what I can see, are you a Virgo or Leo Virgo? You're right on the cusp.
Yeah, I am. Nice job.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. Which is why all the things that are all this that's going, I'm like, yeah, she's
she's
my soulmate.
You don't know. And still to this day, Rachel, I don't know. You know, I left Network 2 years ago, and who knows, was that the right choice? Was it not? I don't know. I just feel like you do what you think is best at the moment, and you write it out, and you see how it all comes together. I feel like some of us are a different era, you know what I mean, than TikTokers that are doing. I mean, food has exploded on social. It's really bad. But I'm a different generation, right? I exploded in a different medium when paper was exploding. So, like, I feel like it's just, you know.
Does your daughter have any interest in what you do?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Daughter wants to sing and dance.
And by the way,
dance. She wants to be on stage. No.
By the way, but that's in your DNA, right? I mean,
it is. Exactly.
You are on stage, just in a different medium.
A different way, yeah. Yeah. But no, she's not interested in food. She could care less. Not at all. In fact, I think for her, she's trying to find her own identity.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's the number one way to do so, is to just come say, that's my mother. Please don't think that is me.
100%.
I am a totally different person. And I get it.
I do want to talk about what's now, because now I think you're taking the brand and launching like all different sort of like products, right? And doing like a full, like even more like leaning into that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I think that for most of the time that I've been cooking, I've been teaching people about the way Italians eat. And I do this in my restaurants as well. Like, for instance, in Las Vegas, I've had a restaurant there for 10 years, and I really make it vegetable forward. And with the pasta course,
before it was cool.
Yes. I can't even tell you what I had to go through on that one 10 years ago, when I didn't want to highlight steaks all the time. Or
I try and do it in my house, and it's challenging.
Yeah. So you can't even imagine. Yes,
I can.
Yeah. So I think, you know, with vegetable forward and teaching people to eat smaller meals, my pasta dishes in Vegas, in the beginning, it was really rough. People were like, what the hell is this small portion?
Sure.
That's how we eat. We eat antipasto. Then we eat a small portion of the first course is pasta, and then we move on to fish or meat and vegetable. Like, everything is small portions. We don't eat a giant bowl of anything, including pasta. So teaching people about portion size was a big thing when I started. And also clean ingredients, and that Italian food isn't just spaghetti and meatballs.
Of course
Pizza.
not.
Like, we eat so many different types of food, and a lot of it is really clean. They don't have a lot of fillers. They don't have a lot of gums. They don't have artificial flavor. Like, we don't eat out of packages. I did not grow up eating out of packages, and I grew up here.
See, now, okay. So how many times have you heard the following? Oh my God, I spent 2 months in Europe and I came home and lost 10 pounds, but I ate everything. How many times have you heard that?
I can't tell you.
I
Thousands.
have heard that since I was a little kid. And my parents would come home because I would go to sleepaway. They would ship me off for summer and go to Europe. And they would come home and be like, Daddy and I ate pasta and pizza and gelato and this and that. And we both lost 10 pounds. And I'm like, imagine that. And as I got, like, literally once I hit my 20s, I was like, because there's no chemicals in the food. It's not processed. They're eating fresh food, And it's like, this is not hard, but yet it's impossible, right?
In this country, it's almost impossible. Like,
we just eliminated red dye number 3 after knowing it causes cancer for the last 40 years. Cool.
Exactly.
So your battle is real, my friend. Your battle is real.
So, I mean, I think on my shows and cookbooks and restaurants, I started that path. And so then now
it's got to be hard. It's
Well,
got to be hard in restaurants in the U.S.
very-
Especially in Vegas, by the way.
which was my very first restaurant. I mean,
LA may be easier,
yes, but I was offered this thing in Vegas, and I thought, I'm already on screen, and I feel like it's dinner and a movie kind of thing, and this makes sense for my brand, and
Absolutely.
it worked because I'm in 10 years, and it's fabulous. But a lot of banging my head against the wall. It's like, guys. So anyhow, with Super Italian, which is my latest cookbook, I decided that because the one I did before Super Italian was Eat Better, Feel Better, because I had through some chronic issues with my health. And so I had to really reboot the way I thought about eating. And it was pretty strict. And so that one came out during COVID, strangely. But really going through my 40s and explaining to people, like, this is what happened to me. This is my hormone situation after I had my daughter. This is, the overwork, the cortisol levels, every just went berserk. And so I went on this journey for a really clean lifestyle. And I really started to be very rigid with the way I ate. And then in my 50s, I started to realize I can't live that way.
Mm-hmm.
The balance is what Italians have. I mean, that's how I grew up. All balance. You can eat, but you have to decide what kind of pasta you're going to eat.
Of course.
Where does the pasta come from? In the pasta. How much pasta? With what?
Right.
This book is more about taking the superfoods that Italians have enjoyed forever: tin fish, olive oil, capers, herbs, citrus, you name it. I have a whole list. And then infusing them in all of our favorite dishes so that you can enjoy the food that you like, but it's all has a nutritional value that is heightened instead of empty, which is how a lot of Americans eat. A lot of us eat empty food.
Oh, yeah.
Teaching people
all day, every day.
Yeah, to eat food that is like, I have a sheet pan lasagna, but I've added a lot less cheese. I've added broccoli raw mixed in with the meat and everything else so that you have more things that are nutrient dense, right? I think that the whole idea is like eating dishes, even this pasta assassina that I love, that is very popular right now, where it's kind of a burnt spaghetti that you differently. You don't cook it in a pot. You cook it in like a round skillet.
Wait, can I pause? I love when you speak Italian. Like, as soon as you mention food, you become Italian. I'm obsessed.
It's so amazing because it's crispy. So then I put sardines on top of it, or you put anchovies. I do these garlicky breadcrumbs that have anchovies mixed in. Like, all of these tricks to make the food taste really good, but also be nutrient dense. And that's what this cookbook is about. But it's fun, and it's sheet pan chicken parm, but with my garlicky breadcrumbs that have all of that anchovy in it, so that they taste really amazing, but they're also something that everybody loves.
So you know what you're going to have to do now, right?
What?
You're going to have to TikTok it. You're going to have to Instagram Reels it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to hire all the 20-somethings to start making all of these things.
Yes. Please. then with Giada, I brought in another element where you can actually buy pasta that has no fillers, that is straight from Italy. That
Have some in my kitchen.
Oh, you do? Great. Yeah. So you can start to see the quality. It's about quality ingredients. And we have to eventually get to the point where we value that. We value the quality of what we're putting in our bodies, and teaching people about that, and making it sexy and fun and cool, because I think that's really the only way that people will.
Well, it should be like, here's the thing. It's like, at the end of the day, I think there's always been so much focus historically on dress like a French girl, eat like a French girl, look like a French girl. And I know for me, I've always been so incredibly attracted to like the natural glamour of Italian women. French girl for me was always cool, but Italian women were always glamorous, And I really think that is something that you can and should infuse into the brand, because you're so beautiful. But I think beyond that, it's sort of like, making it so relatable and desirable to this generation, because I think there has always been that sort of real authenticity in Italian lifestyle and food and cooking and women, right? And I think there's not enough emphasis, in my opinion, on that. There's so much on French women, and I don't want to underplay that from a style perspective, but I think for me, when I think of Italian women, it's like, the natural tan, the gold jewelry, the caftans, the prints, the gorgeousness, sitting on their boats and the whole thing. But like, but it is effortless.
And it's also like Dolce Vita, right? It's also that, like, how they express themselves, how they live their lives.
Correct.
We're more relaxed. We take long naps in the middle of the day. We enjoy our espresso with a biscotto. Like we enjoy wine. We enjoy everything, but not to an excess. It's not about like overdoing everything. It's just
that's what you should
everything in balance, everything in moderation, and
100%
spending it with people that you love in places that you love. I mean, I grew up with my family's like, no, we're eating dinner together. We're gonna
100%
together. We're gonna talk. We're gonna discuss, and this just vivaciousness that's in just because we're very passionate people about everything that we do. And I think that is probably why people love Italian food and love traveling to Italy. Italy is the number one destination for traveling.
I know. And so I don't know. I'm such a fan. I love what you've built. I'm so excited for what you are still doing and still building, because this is not easy. It's not easy. And I see you and I feel you. And I really do. And
remarkable yourself, Rachel.
oh,
I don't think there's a soul who doesn't know who you are. In fact, I was talking to
you.
your daughter earlier, and she was like, "Oh, I know who she is."
Oh,
Like, she's just epic. So
I love that.
you've done an amazing job. Truly, it's you pioneered something that was never seen to be something that was glamorous or special. Like, and I think you've made people see that, and people really appreciate and respect all the hard work you've done. And that is hats off to you. That is not a freaking easy thing to do. So,
Thank you. Right back. And I think we're pretty kindred souls, I think, in different fields, but I think probably looking at things from a very, very similar vantage point.
Absolutely.
And listen, and that's why I'm saying, like, when you were speaking about the struggles, they're real and valid, but I do think it keeps that sort of like passion going, is the desire to, I think, just remain authentic and still do what we do, but still there's so much to teach people. And I think it's trying to figure out the different lenses in which to teach it,
Yes. And how they can absorb it, right? You have to make it so that they enjoy watching it. They want more. And that is always a tricky thing to do with the changing times.
God help me. Thank God for your 16-year-old daughter.
Yeah, a lot of the times she's like,
by the way, I have a 14-year-old son, and I'm just like, okay, like, you shoot the content on this.
Mom, you got to do this. You got to do that. Let's do this together. I mean, I don't know what I'd do without her.
I think you guys could crush it on TikTok together, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that it's back, yeah.
She can sing and you can cook.
Yeah. And by the way, people would love to hear that.
Right? That would. I mean, I'm telling you.
Thank you so much to Giada for being on the pod today. She truly has made her own way in the food industry and clearly has so much passion for her work. I feel like she's still just scratching the surface. And I think, like so many of us, just trying to keep her authentic passion new and fresh for the younger generations, and how to embrace that while still remaining fully authentic and true to yourself and what you know and love. So all just so interesting, and she's so beyond inspiring and fascinating. So I hope you loved this episode as much as I did. Thank you so much for listening to Climbing in Heels. If you have not already, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the iHeart app, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode this season. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Rachel Zoe and the show at Climbing in Heels Pod for the latest episodes and updates. I will talk to you soon. Mwah.
Traveling to see your fave sports team is cool, but traveling with Amex Platinum for the big game is even better.
Right this way.
With access to dedicated card member entrances at select events, you can skip the line. And with access to the Centurion Lounge,
he shoots a three.
You can catch the next game on the way home. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex. Card member entrance access not limited to Amex Platinum Card.
Stop hitting snooze on new tech. Upgrade the whole team at Lenovo.com. Unlock AI experiences with the ThinkPad X1 Carbon. Powered by Intel Core Ultra processors. So you can work, create, and boost productivity all on one device. Win the tech search for business PCs at Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at LifeLock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
Hi, I'm John Walsh. Do you suffer from muscle pain due to overuse, exercise, or aging like I did? I finally found relief with Omega XL, a clinically proven natural drug-free supplement that helps relieve joint pain and muscle soreness. Take back your life and feel younger like I did with Omega XL.
Visit OmegaXL.com/buy now for Omega XL's BOGO special. That's less than $20 a bottle. Remember, there's a 60-day money-back guarantee. Terms apply. Visit OmegaXL.com/buy.